Welcome to the Hustler's Guide to Flow. I'm your host, Marcia Miyake, leadership and emotional intelligence consultant, executive coach, and author, and I'm taking you into the minds of some of the most incredible leaders in the medical, research, business, and yes, even spiritual fields to equip you with powerful insights and practical strategies to level up in business and in life. The next level version of yourself starts now. Today's guest is Wahido Marata, civil engineer turned internationally certified life and career coach. Wahido has spent years studying spiritual modalities, including reflexology, shiatsu, Ayurveda, and meditation. He now works with entrepreneurs to overcome struggles and limiting beliefs, as well as boost their self-confidence, motivation, and my personal favorite, self-awareness. In this episode, we talk about the importance of meditation and self-awareness and the environmental factors impacting our energetic frequency. Thank you so much, Wahido, for taking the time to chat with me today.
My pleasure, Marcia. It's always a pleasure.
Okay, so for anyone that is not familiar with you, tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. I was born in Portugal to a Portuguese father and to a German mother. So I have double nationality. I have these two sort of energies in my DNA. And I was, put in a sort of societal background that led me to become a civil engineer at the age of 23 and made me go to Madrid and be a civil engineer for 1 year. After 1 year, I was basically miserable. I had a relationship where I was going to marry. I was engaged. That fell apart. My work fell apart. And I was back to Portugal, not really knowing what to do and feeling really miserable. But, from the age of 17, I started reading books from people like Osho, Paulo Coelho, Deepak Chopra, Augmentino, Carlos Castaneda, Yogananda. And basically, I just got into the feeling that I had to go to India and spend there some time, review all my life and really take it as a sabbatical at the age of 24. It's not usual, but that's what I did. And after 1 year, I was still there in India, learning a lot of things about meditation, spirituality, breathing techniques, learning about Ayurvedic medicine, and so on and so forth. And I was really passionate to come back to Europe and start something new, totally new. And basically, I started organizing workshops. I was, facilitating a lot of meditations and meditational groups. And I stood doing this work for about 13 years with also a twist of coaching because I went to Tony Robbins workshops. I did the UPW and Date with Destiny in Palm Springs and New Jersey. And, it just brought a different sort of spectrum to the work that I was doing, which was more into spirituality. And after many years, I really wanted to take it deeper and became an ICF certified life coach and career coach. And that made me really work with people from all over the world into coaching. And that's what I'm doing at the moment. And, it's the best job in the world.
I love your story. So I've been following you for a while on social media. And I love that, you really do such a massive shift. So you went from being an engineer into delving into a lifestyle in India. That's a huge jump. What was that transition like for you how did you know that maybe I don't want to be an engineer now and I want to pursue something so radically different? What was that process like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was quite natural because at the age of 14, I started playing tennis. And I was, semi-professional tennis player for many years. And I was even coaching. I took a professional coaching training. And so engineering was already not for me from the beginning. I was always into sports. I loved playing football, basketball, handball, and playing tennis was actually when I was on my third year of civil engineering. I had to make a conscious decision: am I going to pursue tennis and totally focus on it, or am I going to finish my course? And I actually decided to finish the course. It was more, to be honest, to fulfill my parents' expectations. And after that, I really committed myself to work as a civil engineer. But, it was soon enough that, the universe brought me to a space that I was able to actually fulfill my own dreams, although it was not formed in my mind what they were at that time.
Yeah, that's incredible. So were you, because you said you were engaged and you were kind of like had this like whole direction for your life and then you changed. So were you engaged when you decided to take that spiritual journey to India?
No. It's like it's like my world fell apart. My job finished, my engagement finished. I moved back to Portugal. Already separated from my fiance, and then I stood for about 2.5 months looking for a job. I didn't really feel like doing anything specific, and I had some savings. So I said, why am I going against myself? And I really focused on, booking that ticket. I went straight to a specific sort of ashram that exists in India. And, I never looked back, basically.
That's amazing. So for me, it's been one of my dreams to do something like really be in India for some time and really like immerse in the culture and learn a lot of like more things in depth. And I've been there, but I didn't have that immersive experience that you did. What were like some key takeaways? I know you were there for such a long time, so that's a really broad brush question, but what are some key life lessons that you pulled from that experience?
Well, first of all, I was in a very, very international place, and I've met people from all over the world. So that opened up my sort of cultural awareness. So that was really one thing that I couldn't get in my little, although it's a little bit big Portuguese town, which is Lisbon. But the other thing is, there is this atmosphere, this spiritual atmosphere. And especially where I was, which was in the state of Maharashtra, it's Hindu. So, there are like cows on the streets because they are holy. They are considered as holy beings. And so the smells, they are very, very like, they take you away to a different space. I remember like the first week, I felt like I was dreaming. I couldn't really feel my body. It was like such an intense experience. And then it's meditation. Everybody, in a way or another, spirituality leads to meditation. Meditation, yoga, Ayurveda, they are very, very present in that culture. So getting in touch with that meditational space was the first thing that I also immersed myself in. So that would be my answer to that question.
So meditation, probably like that key takeaway that now is part of your daily life, and that you it's ingrained in you now. Okay. That's
exactly.
Amazing. Wow.
Exactly.
Okay. So I really want to delve into the topic of self-awareness, because I think from your journey and like the experiences that you've had, you really had to demonstrate a really high level of self-awareness to one, recognize that you were living the life that your parents wanted for you and not really what was your true calling. And so there's a lot of people who kind of feel that on some level, but never actually really take that assessment to say, hey, this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. And so you've demonstrated several times in your life that high level of self-awareness. So first of all, let's talk about what is self-awareness and why is it so important for everybody to have?
Yeah, I would say that self-awareness is the universe inviting us to make a change. And they are basically like shock makers. You know what I mean? They say that coaches as well as mentors, but mainly like teachers or spiritual teacher or spiritual masters, they are like shock makers. And, if you think about when people actually change their lives or got aware of something very, very deeply, is when they got sick or when someone died close to them or when they got fired or when they lost their relationship, their love relationship. So it's like there's such a strong energy that kind of hits them deep inside that they go like, oh my gosh, what is happening? So awareness for me, or self-awareness, is basically that energy that allows us to really, really look deep into what is happening in our lives. It's like when you're sick, you get a totally different perspective of life. It's like money, comfort, whatever, doesn't really make sense anymore because it's your health that is the total focus. It's the same when someone dies, it's like, your whole world stops, because that emotion, that feeling, that awareness of what's happening inside of you, it's so strong that nothing else on the exterior matters. And so that's what meditation brings. It's that space where you really, really feel like, nothing else in the outside matters. And so self-awareness is that energy that really, really invites you, and sometimes in a challenging way, but in a very loving way, to look inside, to look deep inside and ask questions, because the mind gets into a space where it's not really able to control or able to really understand in a tangible way. So it asks questions. And one of the main questions of self-awareness, or one of the first ones, and actually, masters like Ramana and Maharishi say that it's like the most important, is, who am I? And so whenever life is taking you to a path where you are comfortable and you are like, life is flowing and, everything is going on the right track, you don't stop for a moment and think about things, what is life, or who am I, or where am I going, and why am I going? So awareness, or a very key part of awareness, is really being able to ask deep questions. And I believe that I was fortunate enough to be challenged by the universe and by life itself to get into a place where I had to really ask, really deep questions. And being in Lisbon, having read all these books and being immersed in Catholic religion, and being sort of forced to really ask myself, what do I want from life? What do I really want to be my next step? And going from Portugal, being already vegetarian for 2 years at that time, and seeking a life which was totally different in another continent, miles and miles away, it was really, really sort of strange and really out of the box. But I had no choice. It's like I had no choice, because I really had to follow my dream. And that's part of awareness as well, is really being able to listen to yourself, being able to listen to your environment, to the people who are engaging with you in that moment, and really making a decision, sort of a conscious decision of what you want to do in life that really, really resonates with your inner feelings.
Yeah, I love that. And to your point of saying that sometimes we need to get pushed, in a sense, because we're not really listening, we're not really checking in. And sometimes we have to wait until these extreme events happen, like the death, or like the end of a relationship, or something like traumatic happens, and all of a sudden you wake up. All of a sudden you're present and you're forced to answer these questions that you kind of weren't answering before. So that's, I guess, the defensive, or the like not so proactive way of doing it. It's like all of a sudden your world crashes around you, and all of a sudden you have to look inward. Let's say, what recommendations would you give to someone so that they don't necessarily have to wait for everything to come crashing down? Like, what are some practices or some tips that you would suggest to someone just to help them check in?
Well, there's not much that I can say except, get in touch with a mentor or a coach or a teacher and immerse yourself in one of their workshops or retreats, because this is what a mentor or a coach or a trainer or a master does. It shows you different ways of looking at yourself, at your life. And the questions are so deep, and the practices are so deep, that they transform the way that you see the world, and they make you see things in a different way, which makes you then question life in a different way. I don't see, you could read a book, but it's something that you can control, sort of speaking. So it's not as effective. You can do an online training, which is more effective. But if possible, go to the place where your master or your teacher or your mentor is doing a workshop or a retreat, and go for it. See what resonates more with you. If it's like spirituality, or if it's coaching, or if it's quantum physics or neuroscience, or whatever, or something to do with cancer, or I don't know, a topic that really resonates with what you want to learn. But there's always something that you want to get more awareness of, and then choose someone that or that someone recommends you, and just go for it. Even if it's miles away, like I did either in India, or, I was in Europe, I went to India, I went to America, and, nowadays it's so easy.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because sometimes we need to step out of that environment as well, from like our day-to-day routine and everything to actually really immerse ourselves in something. And then that's when you can really have those powerful shifts. So I totally agree with you there. So let's say, for example, I've done some work, I've gotten, an awareness of the direction that I want to have in my life. I know what my passions are. I'm kind of moving towards them. Are there things that I could do on a daily basis that will just kind of improve my self-awareness, or just keep me tapped into myself so that the external noise isn't penetrating my, life as much as it would ordinarily? What are some things that we can do on a day-to-day?
Without wanting to kind of promote my work or anything, having a coach or having a mentor for me is something vital. I personally have done a lot of processes with coaches. This is why I understand the value. But having someone that keeps you accountable is very, very important. And for instance, my coaching processes are on a weekly basis. So there is tasks and goals and micro steps that allows us to go to the macro steps, which are done on a weekly basis. And so that's, for me, vital. If you really want to get deeper into your goals or reach them faster and in a more conscious way, then I would say that that's something that I find so valuable that I would recommend everyone. The other thing is to do something like a meditational practice on a daily basis. Either yoga, which I find so amazing, which I've been practicing for a while now, or some sort of active meditation or passive meditation, something that anchors you, especially in the morning, first thing in the morning if possible. So that, either go for a walk. It doesn't have to be like meditation or spirituality or something like that. It could be like going to the gym or getting a friend and going for a run, or just going for a walk, breathing some fresh air, seeing the sunrise or being in touch with those first rays of sun, something that really makes you do something on a regular basis, on a daily basis if possible. Otherwise, again, choose a topic, do an online workshop or read a book, which I find is really, really important. The other thing that I would really recommend, which is something that I coined the 4 pillars of health, is to really make sure that you have a balanced diet. It doesn't have to be vegetarian or vegan, just having balanced diet in terms of minerals, in terms of vitamins, in terms of protein, in terms of omega oils, so that everything like inside your brain and inside your body is on its maximum potential. And then to really drink a lot of water, if possible, 2 liters per day of water, which is difficult, but do as much as you can, because it really oxygenates the brain and gives that fluidity to the blood. And then really to sleep at least 6 to 7 hours per day. Many people do not really understand the power of sleep. Many scientists are coming forth saying, sleep is one of the most important things in life. So that's something else that I would really, really advise, keeping track of when you're going to sleep, waking up at the same time every day, and, training your body and your mind and your brain to really allow you to having a good night's sleep.
Yeah, I love that. There was lots of gold nuggets there. So I'm just going to go over a couple and feel free to throw some out as well. So what you're saying is, try to do an activity like meditation, something that kind of gets you out of your head, whether it's exercising or going for a walk or being in nature, and also really fueling your body with good nutrients and plenty of water, because it's all a system, like the whole system, and getting plenty of quality sleep and waking up at the same time so your body gets accustomed to a certain routine. So I love that you gave recommendations of kind of like all areas, because that is how you tap into your whole being. And that's the only way you can be really aware, is if you are, connecting the brain and the heart and the physiology, and all of that is all part of getting you to connected to your inner self. So I love that. That was awesome. And obviously not taking away from the fact that your best chance at really getting to the highest level of self-awareness is working with someone. We all try to be really disciplined. We're all really going to try to do all the things that, we set out we're going to do. But you're right, having that person that can hold you accountable, that has been trained in this area to get you to go into those deep processes. Like I 100% agree with you there that if you can reach out to a coach, they'll definitely help you in that space. The other thing that I heard you talk about before that I loved how you described it was the concept of frequency. Can you talk about like generally what is frequency and why the different types of frequency and why is this important?
Without wanting to sound like a scientist, which I'm not, or any kind of expert on the field, for me, what I've been feeling is that when you practice meditation, for instance, you feel sort of a lot of different energies. And then you start digging in, because if you do it for a period of like 10 years, there's something that you actually start gaining awareness of. And, for me, frequency, without wanting to get into the gigahertz and stuff like that, it's for me sort of the electromagnetic field that surrounds you and makes you feel certain things with people, with places, and with situations, with circumstances in life. And so, we all experienced something like, oh, I have this kind of attraction for that person, or I feel good with that person, or, that place is such a magical place. It makes me feel so aligned, so aware, so centered, so rooted, so frequency is basically that sort of energy that penetrates everything and everyone and makes you feel different things. And, this is, I'm sure, like a very basic understanding or explanation, but it's really something that you can actually get aware of and actually improve in your life. Because when you start listening, and listening is such a powerful way to really, understand this kind of frequencies or energies, you start noticing different things that you never noticed. And either with places, with circumstances, with situations, and mainly with people. And this is why, some people get more in tune with animals, some others with people, some others with places. How many people you've heard like, I like cats or dogs more than people. It's because there is this kind of energy, this kind of frequency that allows them to really be aligned with the energy of those animals. But there is another aspect of frequency, which for me comes a lot with meditation, where, you're starting to really calm down the mind, which has its own frequency. And that frequency starts kind of, stops really influencing the rest of your body. And sort of like a lotus flower, your whole body frequency starts opening up and starts being more connected and more in tune with other frequencies which happen, I would say, in the universe, where we can have access to. And, Mozart, for instance, worked a lot with certain frequencies which kind of allowed us to be in a more centered, more aligned, and a more relaxed space. This is why, with my children, I always played Mozart in the beginning of their lives, because it's like where they feel more attuned and more aligned and more relaxed with. And so, that would be like my simplest explanation of frequency. And I hope it helped.
Oh, I love that. And how interesting, because I was the same with Mozart. Like, I didn't know that, by the way. It always has resonated with me. I really love classical music, but especially Mozart. And I did the same with my daughter. When she would go to bed, I would put on like an 8-hour track of just Mozart, because it would calm me. And it was just absolute bliss. But I love that, because I don't know much about frequency. I just thought it's a really cool blend of the spiritual side with the scientific side, because when we talk about energy from a spiritual side, we less associate that with science, let's say, right? Mm-hmm. So I liked how you kind of like pulled the two together. So it's about that feeling of how you feel when you're around certain people. And so do you think that that's connected to, is it like your intuition? So the more you are connected and self-aware of yourself, then you're more aware of the frequency. Like, how does that kind of work? So does that make sense? Like,
yeah, it makes sense.
If I'm more connected to myself and I have a higher level of self-awareness, then I will be more aware of the frequency around me, more aware of the energy.
I can give you an example. I don't know if you know of this story. I don't know exactly if it was in America, but the indigenous people of either South America or North America, when they received the Europeans, they actually couldn't see the boats because in their minds they had no concept of what the boat was. So, they would look at the horizon, the sea, and they didn't see anything. And suddenly there were these boats approaching and really big and like with sails and stuff like that. And they were like, what's this? So for me, with frequencies, it's the same, whatever you don't have awareness of, you cannot even see. And in the same way, you cannot even feel it. So there needs to be a mechanism that leads you to feel or to get aware of something. And so, for instance, I just remembered, like, I work a lot with essential oils. And I know that rose is the essential oil which has one of the most high frequencies, which is like 300 something gigahertz or whatever. I don't exactly know. But the thing is, there needs to be something that makes you aware of frequency or energy or spirituality, or I don't know, maybe you are born like a Mozart, but unless you learn how to be a Mozart, you will never be a Mozart. So, there needs to be a teaching, there needs to be an awareness that leads you to these spaces.
That's awesome. So if I wanted to become more aware of the frequencies around me and the energy, like what can I do to improve that? How can I tap more into that?
So, maybe I'm repeating myself, but it's going back to everything else that I said, which is, knowing what you're eating. There's, as we know, and I don't want to say anything judgmental about people that eat meat or fish, but we all know that, especially from the more Oriental traditions, that eating certain types of food brings you a different kind of energy, a different kind of frequency in your body. So that would be one of my first steps. If possible, if people would like to try vegetarianism or veganism, that will be something very, very interesting. The other thing is the quality of our thoughts. I don't know if you know Dr. Emoto, where he made experiences with water. So we are like made of 70 to 80% of water. So the quality of our thoughts creates a frequency in our bodies that then creates a sort of environment inside of our bodies. So to really be aware of what are you saying to yourself. Sometimes it's unconscious, but there's many ways to dig in through that unconscious and bring that to the conscious realm of our understanding. That's another thing which is, could lead us to speak for like 2 or 3 hours. But the other thing is to, getting enough sleep. There's a lot of things that happen in your sleep, even dreams, that you can actually get into really, really interesting energies. And those energies bring up certain frequencies that you can really learn from and be aware of other things because of those energies. But the other thing that I really highly recommend would be meditation, because when you practice meditation, your heartbeat slows down, your bloodstream gets much more balanced, your breathing, gets more deep, and your overall understanding of how the mind works is heightened. And when that happens, you really, really, I believe, open up to a realm which the mind cannot really understand, which is that vibrational realm of existence, I would say, the universe consciousness, where everything vibrates in a certain frequency, and you really get or start to get aware of those frequencies.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So a couple things on that. So what you're saying is, just to summarize, frequency will be impacted by what you're putting in your actual environment. So what you're eating, what you're drinking, the thoughts in your head, what you're thinking about on a daily basis, consciously and subconsciously, and what's happening even in your dream state as well. Exactly. And I it's interesting that you say that, because this month I decided to go vegan. So from January, that's what I've been doing, and it's been really challenging because my daughter, eats like hot dogs and all this stuff. But I have to agree with you. Like something, it just shifted. Like the first week I did a juice cleanse. So I just like basically celery and lemon juice for the first week. And then since then, just raw foods, just keeping it as raw as possible, mostly just fruits and vegetables. And I can 100% say that there's been a shift yet definitely vibrating higher. So it's very interesting because I'm not, a devout vegetarian or vegan. So I can, as someone who has basically eaten meat all my life, I decided to try this, and I have noticed such a difference. And of course, I can totally validate the positive and negative thought thing. And I love who was the professor again who did this study on the water?
Dr. Emoto.
Emoto, that's right. So, and just for anyone who's not aware of that study, they basically tested negative thoughts, someone projecting negative thoughts on water, and then they compared it to projecting positive thoughts on water, and the composition of the water literally changed, and you could look at it at a microscopic level, and it was just absolutely crazy. And so when people say your thoughts impact your body and your health and your life, it sounds crazy, but the science is there to show that this is not crazy, and this is real. Now, what I found interesting about what you said was, you said in our dream state can also impact a frequency. That's interesting, because could you talk more about that? Because the last couple of nights I've been having weird dreams, and I don't usually have weird dreams. Like, what's that all about?
I've been working with the spiritual teacher for 13 years, and his work was a lot with dreams. And I've learned many, many things that dreams can tell you. And one of the things that he was saying is that, and one of the main things is that every aspect of the dream is a part of you, or every aspect is an aspect of yourself. And so it's not like there is an external person in your dream that you project as someone separate, but everything is one, and everything is part of yourself. And everything sounds crazy, every now and then everybody says, oh, that's crazy, or the environment is getting polluted and global warming is happening, that's totally crazy, I don't believe it. Everything is crazy nowadays, because it depends on your perception, it depends on your perspective, it depends on what you want to perceive as your reality. And I've just read or listened to discussion between Deepak Chopra and Tony Robbins, and Deepak Chopra was saying that reality as it is doesn't happen, doesn't exist. It depends on our perception, our perspective, and that's what makes reality. So my realities will always be different from your reality, and so I really believe that things are weird, things are strange, but in that strangeness, when you start working with dreams, for instance, as we were speaking, you start listening to your unconscious. You start listening to that unconscious part of yourself. And there's many techniques, like you should is never the word, but if you drink a glass of water before going to bed, it enhances the perception of the dream, and it makes you remember them more. Another thing that is always suggested is that as soon as you dream the dream, you write it down. And so, the quality of your sleep is always something that needs to be really looked at, because if you don't sleep the amount of hours necessary for everything else to work out, especially your dreams or the perception or the memory of your dreams, then it will never happen. The other thing is that they say is that I think it's from like 1.5 to 3 o'clock in the morning, or from 3 to 6 in the morning, is when your dream state happens more strongly and more, and the possibility of remembering them is more strong. But I heard that, and if this kind of really strong, energetic things that happen in our bodies, that's in the East is called Satoris, for instance, which is like this really strong glimpses of enlightenment, or say a very, very aware state of mind, can happen in your dreams. And so it's really, really interesting, the power of being aware of your dreams and making sure that, something that they say, scientists, and this is not me, scientists that say that you should always turn off your mobile devices and all your electronics 1 hour prior to going to sleep, so that your body starts relaxing and really getting to the state where it enhances the connection to your unconscious. And so then utilizing in the best way possible the dream state, because you spend 7 to 8 hours, or 6 to 7, 8 hours per day sleeping. It's 1/3 of your life. So why not utilize it in the best way? And there's so many studies about it. So it's not me like in a crazy way saying, let's look at our dreams and let's make them conscious and let's utilize them and let's have like satori's and let's like enjoy the party in an energetic way. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is what scientists are saying.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. And that's so interesting because I totally resonated with you for a second when you said about the satori, that like instant enlightenment scenario, because I recently had a situation like that where a vision kind of came to me in my dream, and I woke up with a completely like new realization of something. And I don't think that I would have had it in my conscious state because I wasn't thinking about it. So I had a realization that happened in my dream state, and then I woke up the next morning feeling so inspired. So that's really cool. So is there anything that we can do aside from turning off our phones, making sure that we're going into dream state properly to affect that dream state in a positive way? If our dream state is a part of a reflection of something in our subconscious or in our conscious minds that then turns into a dream, is there something that we can do to make it like put a positive influence on that so that we're having good dreams, let's say?
Yes. There is another thing, besides the ones that I said, and I can repeat them if you want, but one of the other things that I remember my grandmother doing is getting a little pouch of lavender flowers and giving them to me. And I was like 6 or 7, and she was saying, put this under your pillow because it helps you sleep. It gives you a nice sleep. And I said, okay, it smelled good, and it was my grandmother, and I did it. Years later, I started working with essential oils. And I found out that actually lavender is really, really amazing for calming down the body, calming down the mind, and allowing you to relax. So if you have a diffuser, for instance, it's something that I highly recommend, putting some drops of lavender essential oil on a diffuser and diffusing it at least half an hour prior to going to bed. So that's something else that they say really, really helps. Again, turning off all devices. There's a couple of things that they also say. It's lowering the room temperature. They say that you really can relax better if the room is colder than hotter. They say, darker is better than with a bit of light because it really, really helps the body focus on the night, on that part of the day, which is really, really recommended to sleep. So, people sometimes nap during the day or do something like that. It's not really advisable. The other thing that I mentioned is to really wake up at the same time every day, even on weekends. So they say that trains the brain into a reality that, at this time every day I'm going to wake up. So the brain starts helping you to wake up at the same time. And they say this is scientists, you can just Google and search, and I don't have names or universities in my mind, but I've read several articles. But anyone can check this out. But anyway, it's basically I was speaking about going to bed at the same time. They say going to bed at the same time is actually not vital, but waking up at the same time is more vital. So if you go to bed at 1 o'clock and you wake up always at 7, wake up at 7, because then your body will stay tired throughout the day. Hopefully, allows you to work efficiently, but it will get tired quicker, and it will allow you to go to bed quicker as well. And that's really about it.
That's awesome.
As far as I remember.
Those were great tips. That's so awesome. Okay, so I just wanted to acknowledge you because I asked you to come on the show because, as I said before, I watched you in the space. I loved how your breadth of knowledge is just so expansive. So you've got your whole spiritual side of things, and you're just so connected. And you can feel that. You can feel that when you do your videos, when you do your posts, that you do have a really high level of self-awareness, and you've done the work, and it's so obvious. But then you also have the business side of things. So you're not just in that spiritual realm, which for some people, totally resonates. And then for some people, it doesn't, So I love that you're really strong in both. And that's why I really wanted to bring you on the show. I love your work, loved your video, loved your content. So I just really wanted to acknowledge you for just being such an authentic leader and just being so giving of yourself. And before I ask my last question, how can people like reach out and work with you, and how can they connect with you?
Well, thank you very much for your acknowledgement. I really, really appreciate it. It's really like really warming for me to receive those words. So thank you very much. And I love your work as well, Marcia. I've been following you as well. And, it's really, really shining in every aspect. And really keep it up because, many, many people really need it. So thank you for that as well. How to find me? It's very easy. I'm username Wahido Marata in all social media. So you can find me everywhere under that username. My website is also wahidomarata.com. So wahidomarata.com. And, if you search my name anywhere, you can find me. So that's about it. My email is info@wahidomarata.com. You can also email me there. And that's it.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'll put all the links to all your social media and all your website and everything. I'll have that in the show notes. And guys, this guy is a real deal. So if you want a coach that understands the business side and is also just really connected and help you do the deep work that we need to do to live a fulfilling life, definitely reach out. Okay, so last question is, what do you want your legacy to be?
Oof, that's a big question. One of the things that I actually find really interesting about spirituality versus business is that spirituality sometimes lacks practicality. And people, immerse themselves in spirituality and this and that, but then how will they make the next payment and how will they pay their bills? So I really wanted to merge those two. And in that way, I would love my legacy to be something similar, where both bridges are intertwined and interconnected, and they really, really make sense together. I don't really believe in business without spirituality and vice versa. I follow a lot a spiritual teacher called Osho, and he has the concept of Zorba the Buddha, which is Zorba, the Greek who was always celebrating and was always enjoying life in its multitude of experiences. And then there was the Buddha, which is, the centered, the person who seeks higher states of consciousness, who, practices spirituality and meditation. And so, the legacy that I would love to live and for my children to remember is to always live in a space of courage, to always live in a space of determination, of fearlessness, if possible, and really, really striving to reaching your goals in whatever way it happens, in whatever environment, in whatever state of mind, to really, really follow your dreams. If everyone that works with me would be able to put this into practice, I would be the happiest man alive. And having that with my children would be even better, and the generations to come, and who knows, the generations that passed also being able to receive that energy if you believe in reincarnation and past lives and stuff like that. So I believe that everything is interconnected. I believe that there is a vertical reality rather than this kind of time frame horizontal reality. And so, to really, really follow your dreams would be, something that I would love to see as my legacy.
I love it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Marcia. It was a pleasure.
Okay, guys, I hope you got some powerful takeaways from this episode. If so, please share it with someone. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe and review, as it helps us to spread our message of inspiration. Sending you so much love, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Hustler's Guide to Flow.